I define the support class as a role that further enhances the team's effectiveness through buffs and/or sustainability. These are an undervalued role within the team. They're not always required roles, but they do make groups faster, make the fighting easier, and often a lot more fun. When it comes to the most difficult content in the game, these are the roles that are going to help you get through it. I was going to create a support build based on one of the more popular options, Tactician's Authority, but when I was thinking about it, there's actually quite a few options available. So instead, I'm going to briefly run through a few of the different support sets and what role they play. If there is a specific role you'd like me to go into a little more detail on, just let me know in the comments. All sets in the division can be placed into the following groups. Please note that this is based on the current 1.8 patch and the full 6-piece bonus that each set has. This is also based on my experience with each set, and there is certainly a bit of grey area between each of these groups which other sets could fall, but regardless I still feel this is a good place to start. In this video we're going to talk about the support group. I'm going to briefly go over each set and the different ways they can fill the support role. Each of these sets offer different bonuses, so I'm going to further break these down into the following subgroups: healer support, buff support, crowd control, and of course, emotional support. Again, this is based on the native bonuses that each set gives, but with the right skills and talents, each of these can run across multiple subgroups. We covered the healer support role in the last video, so we won't be talking about this. And as far as the emotional support goes, there isn't really a build for this. Just try to be there for them, offering them a virtual shoulder to cry on, and if all else fails, maybe just find them a good counselor or something. The role of the buff support is to provide increased damage and/or defensive bonuses to the team. Particularly useful in in-game activities like heroic incursions or legendary missions, where the enemies hit harder and take more damage. The crowd support player is there to slow or take down large groups of enemies. Ideal for slowing down the rate of NPC advancement, these builds are best suited in activities like resistance or pretty much anywhere that rushes are catching your team off guard. The Tactician's Authority set is the most all-round support set. I don't really rate the 6-piece set very highly, but using the 4 or 5-piece set with something like the Inventive Backpack or Barrett's Chest will have you gaining a decent amount of utility. With the 1 to 5 set piece bonuses going directly into skill haste and skill power, this set gives the most flexibility in regards to skills. Crowd control skills could include the BFB Sticky Bomb, Flashbang Sticky Bomb, either the Airburst or Cluster Seeker Mines, and the Flame Turret. Buff skills include Smart Cover, Tactical Scanner Pulse, or Booster Shot. The reason that this is one of the most popular choices as a support role set is because of the flexibility. Players can easily and quickly chop and change between skills depending on the situation and activity being played. The final measure 4-piece bonus states, when in range of hostile grenades or mortars, diffuses them and adds grenades to your inventory. This alone is a huge help when considering the massive amount of grenade spam this game has. This build can be put together in a couple of different ways, focusing heavily on skill power or firearms. So try this out based on your playstyle preference. Myself, I still like to be able to do some weapon damage, so firearms is my go-to. But this doesn't mean you can't get any support utility out of your skills. Skills like Flashbang Sticky Bomb and Booster Shot First Aid don't require high skill power in order to get the most out of them. The skill power variation can run support skills like Tactical Pulse, Smart Cover, and Support Station. If you don't have a 6-piece final measure set, a 3-piece final measure, 2-piece Tacticians, and a Ninja Bike bag will still be quite effective. However, if you do have the 6-piece final measure, you'll get even more support out of this set. Each grenade you catch will provide a considerable buff to your team, with EMP and shock grenades providing a 40% skill power buff, frag and fire grenades giving a 40% weapon damage increase, and flashbang and tear grenades increasing your armor by 40%. This is a fun support build for the whole team. If you haven't tried it out, I recommend it. The Sentry's Call set makes for a pretty average DPS build, but a fairly decent DPS support build. The 4-piece bonus states, headshots using semi-automatic weapons mark the enemy, increasing the damage inflicted on the target by 5%. A target can receive up to 3 marks. The 6-piece bonus adds to this by making it so that targets can now be marked up to 6 times, and that every mark after the first one has a chance to spread marks to other nearby NPCs. At 6 marks, the damage on target is increased to 100%. I'm expecting a little bit of salt on this one, but with this set you can only use semi-automatic weapons. These include marksman rifles, pistols, and weapons like the Urban MDR. But my take on this set is that in order for you to get the maximum out of this set, you need to shoot a target 6 times in the head. And with a DPS build, I'd like to think that you'd need far less than 6 shots to the head to kill a target, especially if you're using a marksman rifle. So for this reason, I see the Sentry's Call set as being better suited in assisting your team in doing more damage, rather than attempting to take them down on your own. Try to spec more into electronics, opening up a wider range of support skills you can use. A weapon with cool headed synergizes really well with this build. Focus more on marking multiple targets than trying to take them down on your own. Don't get me wrong, I love seeing the crazy high DPS numbers coming off targets when you get to 6 stacks, but with a decent sniper build, you should be able to take down most enemies in the game with 1 to 3 headshots.
Got that? Great.
Firecrest is all about fire, in particular, the fire turret. Although a fairly reliable solo build, it's still a bit slow with the damage over time to be considered a DPS build for the team. Again, the 6-piece to the set is pretty meh, so running the 4-piece with 2 Tacticians or the 5-piece with an inventive bag or Barrett's chest are a good alternative. Because of your reliance on the turret, I'd probably recommend stacking into electronics, but an exotic like the Urban MDR can still have you doing quite a bit of damage as well. Your primary skill should obviously be the flame turret, but your secondary skill is a bit more flexible. To continue with the fire damage theme, you may choose to use airburst seeker mines. This is one of those grey area sets. Although this is a fantastic solo set, and would primarily come under the tank role, the increased threat alone has this drawing enemy fire away from your squishier teammates, allowing them to spend more time focusing on the NPCs, and less time on their own health. On top of this, the 6-piece set bonus offers a buff to your team after receiving a certain amount of damage to the shield. Physical damage, weapons etc., will increase armor by 30%, and exotic damage, grenades, will give a 30% increase to weapon damage. You can actually proc the second one on your own by just throwing a couple of grenades at your feet. The ballistic shield is a given, but I found the build to be pretty effective at being the team reviver too. Equip the defib skill and keep your teammates alive for days. You're basically a great big walking bullet sponge that fires out magical healing projectiles. I wanted to show some of the lesser talked about sets here and how they can still be quite useful when placed in the right situation. I'm really just talking about some of the basic support sets here, and there are a ton of different options that you could spec other sets into. But if you're one of those players that prefers to play the support role in the team, there are certainly a number of different options for you to try out. So what's your favourite support role to play? Are you the team healer? Do you like adding buffs while still being able to put out a bit of weapon damage? Or are you the player that helps keep the more emotionally fragile team members from losing their shit every time they get ganked in the dark zone? Let me know below. Cheers!